Hi, I'm Allison Lamb, and this is Weaving Green Justice at COP30, a series of reflections from the heart of the Amazon in Belém. Each clip captures a moment of meaning, weaving together analyses of delegate negotiations, stories of social justice, and interpretations of climate texts through the lens of green ideology. Here's today's thread.
When they say Belém is in the heart of the Amazon, they may very well mean that literally. Flying into the airport, you see thick forests overhead until you suddenly find yourself looking down on a city. Even from high above, you have to wonder how this small town is expected to host the entire world.
Finding accommodations in Belém has been a nightmare. Many have said that Belém just doesn't have the infrastructure to host an event as big as COP, and it was apparent in the early stages when looking for accommodations. Hotel prices were exorbitant, with some quoting me as much as $5,000 Canadian a night. Others, like this email I received from a Global Greens colleague, said that a reservation he had already made and confirmed for $250 was canceled by the host and requoted at $3,200. Alternative accommodations began to open up, including the possibility of staying at love motels. I truly would not have been opposed to this as an option, but the prices weren't much more affordable. For a long time, the COP presidency had been saying that they would solve the accommodations issue, one solution being the contracting of cruise ships to provide an affordable solution to delegates. I had obviously put my name on the list to be notified as soon as these accommodations were available. By the time I was notified, the most economical accommodations were already sold out. It is completely understandable that many of the most economical rooms would be reserved for the Global South. However, not everyone in the Global North are high income earners either. As a student researcher, in order to be able to afford to go to COP, I have had to apply for numerous sources of funding. And even then, I am paying for some of this trip out of pocket. It would have been nice if the economical options hadn't already been completely sold out by the time I was notified. Then, although it was changed later on, we were told in the beginning that we had to book our rooms for 17 nights, starting on November 5th, even though COP didn't begin until November 10th. Why were we required to pay for 5 extra days before COP even started? I know that the Leaders Summit started on November 6th, but requiring a minimum stay starting from November 5th was certainly not signaling an inclusive solution for all delegates. They very graciously permit us to transfer our room to someone else, assuming we even know someone to transfer those rooms to, at 100 American dollars a transfer. But who would even want the rooms from November 5th to 10th? So then, whoever makes the reservation is saddled with the cost of those extra nights. On a separate PDF, they sent me price quotes specifically for me, coming from Canada. Once again, I understand and appreciate that these prices would be more expensive for someone from the global north, but there's pricier and there's unreasonable. For something touted to be the more inclusive option, the price I was quoted was certainly not reasonable. I do not know how they expect a student researcher to be able to pay €1,200 a night or €1,384 a night for 17 nights, 10 of which I won't even be in Belém.
I later learned that, according to Ed King, the protesters were a flotilla of indigenous peoples who traveled across the Amazon seeking a meeting with President Lula to request protection from the oil, gas, mining, and agriculture industries. The COP presidency reported that they, along with Minister Marina Silva, conducted a dialogue with the protesters about accreditation that is available to them in order to participate at COP. The presidency reiterated that they want this to be the most inclusive COP ever. As one observer said to me today, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It should be noted that, partway through today's presidency town hall with constituencies, the presidency was called away. I do understand and appreciate that they are extremely busy and things pop up unexpectedly. But it seems a little pointless and disingenuous to have a presidency town hall with constituencies when the presidency cannot be present.
So, what does it mean if you're invited to the table, but the host doesn't attend?
Also, without the presence of the presidency, pavilions run very interesting and informative parallel events. Many of them have giveaways to attract more attendees, including, naturally, Brazilian coffee. Some of these presentations fall into the purview of propaganda, such as presentations by businesses discussing their products or by countries needing to discuss their commitment to green progress. Others are non-governmental voices seeking to advocate and support their causes. It is sometimes challenging to determine which presentations are truly authentic and which ones are greenwashing.
In the end, for the most inclusive COP ever, this first week has been plagued with contradiction as negotiators remain in their fortress. From the delegates who could not afford to come in the first place, to civil society and indigenous peoples who could not gain access, the question is raised of just how many important voices have been silenced. Organizing such events isn't easy, and it is impossible to make everybody happy, but one really has to wonder who is missing and at what cost.